I'm so tired from last night. Why were the kobolds screeching, Roo?
I don't know. It was not my turn to keep watch of them. It was Eophraim's turn this time.
Oh yeah, they were being a bit rowdy, so I just gave them some extra shift in the mines.
You and I are going to have a talk about Well, it wouldn't technically be HR, but you and I are going to have to talk later about...
KR?
Yeah, we'll go with KR. But it's time for a guest, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
believe we're scheduled for finding someone.
All right, let me see here. Ah, this one looks interesting. College of Lore, or Bard. Let's see what they have to say. Hello there.
Why that's rather disorienting. Where? Oh my god, you're dragons! I never thought I'd meet one in real life. Hello, hi! This is... Wow. What is... Should I bow? No, I don't think I should bow. You're not gods. Hi.
Oh, but you're free to sit down if you wanna. There's a comfortable rock.
Moss is plenty plush. But you are correct. We are not gods. In all honesty, this is rather refreshing. Someone who's not trying to kill us on first sight.
No, if anything, I'd rather... Oh my god, I don't have my journal. Oh no. How am I going to make sure I remember this?
Well, to be fair, you're currently asleep, so just write things down when you wake up.
Sleep. I hope I remember all of this.
Also, hello, you are in the realm of forgotten memories and dreams. Your consciousness was brought here so we could ask you a few questions, and maybe answer a few if we have time.
Of course, I would love to tell you anything you want to know, given that you'd be happy to tell me things that I want to know, perhaps? Little tit for tat there.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Give and receive.
Do you actually live in a cave?
Yes.
This isn't just decor. Dragons actually live in caves.
This is the cave located about the center of our realm.
What's wrong with living in a cave?
Nothing! I just thought that perhaps it was a rumor. Perhaps you'd want something more comfortable. I know some dragons can take on human form and just blend in amongst humans and live in towns or mansions even, but you actually live in a cave. Is that a kobold?
Yes, this one is Jeremy. Jeremy, say hello. No? Too shy? Well, he's my personal attendant. Speaking of, Jeremy, could you go get some tea for the nice person, please?
No, tea would be amazing. Very generous of you. Dragons aren't exactly known for their generosity. No offense. It's just not. All I know is legends and myths and... Oh, this is a lot.
Well, Rue's not exactly a dragon.
No.
And there are a lot of bad stereotypes about dragons.
It's true.
You do look very fascinating. What are you exactly, if you don't mind me asking?
I am a Cephalotus Fae, a Fae creature that is mostly plant-based, which was grown by an Eladrin by planting a Cephalotus seed inside of a tentacle monster's tentacle, and then planted in the Feywild.
See, involvement in things makes everything so much more interesting.
Anyway, my name is Eophraim. Who might you be?
My name is Tifa, and most of my colleagues, my friends, everyone kind of calls me Tifa, actually. Pleasure to meet all of you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too, Tifa. My name is Ashura.
I am Rue. Oh, here's Jeremy with the tea. Here you go.
Thank you. Very kind little fellow. So, you said you wanted to ask me a few things. If I start asking questions, I'm going to be here all day, and I'm so sorry I will just completely lose track and not give you a chance to ask your questions, so perhaps it's best if you go first. I'm sorry, this is just extremely exciting for me. I never thought I'd meet a real-life dragon in person on friendly terms.
We're happy to have you. Could you tell us a bit about where you're from?
My homeland or where I live now?
Either or.
Well, I come from a land known as Wentigro. It's very desert, kind of barbaric, really, if you ask me. But, well, I left there. Everyone's always scrambling to try and be the strongest or the smartest or the most adept at magic. I like to study a lot and started amassing quite a library. Someone decided they didn't like that and set it on fire, so I decided to just remove myself from that situation, and I left, and now I am really on a whole other continent, Femoris is much more, well, it's certainly a lot greener than the desert, that's for sure. Folks seem to be overall friendlier. Well, most of Femoris, uninhabited isn't really the right word for it, but it's in the process of being colonized, I suppose you could say. Anyway, there's a lot of smaller villages, cities being built from the ground up, things such as that. I don't know, overall, I've enjoyed it a lot. It's been very pleasant, and there are a lot of interesting creatures around that have, well, at first were very fascinating points of study. As of recently, I haven't had much time to study. I've been very preoccupied. So this has been quite a refreshing change of pace.
So you study different creatures?
Mostly monsters, but yes, I'm especially fascinated by the kinds of things most people are afraid of. The types that, well, some of them only exist in legends, in ancient lore. Turns out some of them actually exist. Did you know that werewolves are real? For example, I'd only ever read legends of them, but I met several recently. Well, not really recent anymore, but since joining my guild. Oh my god, there are so many things. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Like I said, this has been a very welcome change of pace. I've had a very chaotic couple of months.
That's perfectly fine. We'd love to hear more about it.
Yes, I could tell that you have met werewolves. You still have a faint, lingering scent of them. Well, their scent lingers for quite a while. Many people don't know that, but having magical senses does help with that. You also seem to have the scent of a demon and some undead around you.
Oh, gods, that was certainly a hell of a, excuse the unintentional pun, that was a hell of a thing that happened. Yes, someone summoned a demon lord that had been locked away, and they slayed a priest that I wanted to have a word with. And then he was resurrected into a zombie, so instead of getting to converse with him, I had to shoot him a few times. Like I said, the past couple of days have been especially chaotic.
You shot a priest?
A zombie! I didn't shoot him while he was alive and a priest, and I don't think zombies can really be priests.
You would be surprised.
Fair enough, fair enough. There are intelligent undead. I don't know what I was thinking when I said that. It's really hard to think. I'm very excited right now.
It's fine. We understand.
We appreciate your excitement.
Yes, I was quite excited when I first got here as well.
And then he got bored of us.
I'm not bored of you. I just care more about the people who we interview. That sounds a little harsher than I meant to do. I'm sorry. Anyway, would you mind telling us a bit about the people you may have traveled with and how you met them and your travels so far?
Oh, well, I met most of them when I joined the guild. I'm a member of a guild known as the Watchers, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that before now. But I joined the guild and I was assigned to a team where I met most of my companions. That's where I met May. She's fun. I consider us friends. I'm not really sure what she considers me, but I suppose that's really saying it's none of my business isn't really the appropriate phrase, but there's not much I can do about it if she doesn't. That's where I met Maisie. She's fun. I enjoy her company, even if I don't always act like it. She's not the most talkative person I've met. It's where I met Dan. I should really speak with him more, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. He's also a hunter of the supernatural. He probably has fascinating stories. Why have I not spoken with him more? I'm sorry, I'm getting completely distracted. Let's see. It's where I met Blair. Blair's absolutely fascinating. And it's also where I met Fee. She's no longer with us, but it is where I met her. She traveled with us for most of my adventures. Let's see. Getting away before I get too distracted by my own emotions. I have two other companions that I met during our travels. There's Kate Sith. I don't know if I really want to call him a companion or not. I'm a little bit angry with him at the moment, but he certainly is a fascinating individual. And there was also Minerva. I don't know much about her yet. Just recently met her. She was a stowaway on our ship.
Why were they stowing away?
I'm not really sure. She said she was looking for food. I believe she wanted to travel. Again, it's been such a hectic couple of days. I'm having a hard time keeping everything straight, but I think she kind of accidentally ended up there and then didn't want to come out because she didn't want to be caught. But then we caught her anyway. But she's been traveling with us and she's been helping us in exchange for, well, not punishing her for being a stowaway.
That seems fair.
I think it was a pretty fair deal.
So you and your party members, you go out and adventure and look for werewolves?
Oh, no, not just werewolves. Our guild has been, let's see, how can I explain this in the most concise way possible? Some kind of evil has been crawling around the world, I believe. Seems to have started in Femoris, but I don't really know. I've been doing a lot of research into this and I haven't really come up with much recently. But we are pretty much here to help people in general. Sometimes it is situations like werewolf attacks. We recently investigated the kidnapping of some children that involved a witch. We thought it might have involved Fae. We were wrong about that. Most recently, the summoning of the demon was disguised as vampire attacks. So that was certainly a fascinating thing to investigate. And I'm very glad that it wasn't vampire attacks, by the way. The family of vampires we met, they're lovely people. And I would have hated to find that they were lying and actually evil. But we do a lot of things that end up generally investigating supernatural instances. But I mean, I think we have other teams that answer other calls for help as well. Truth be told, my attention is so focused on the supernatural and other such creatures that I really haven't paid much mind to the rest of what our guild does. I'm very sorry.
What's been one of the most shocking creatures that you've come across?
Most shocking, we recently fought a creature known as a banshee. And to be completely honest with you, I didn't really get to learn very much about them. Because as soon as they appeared, I fell unconscious. And I have no idea what the hell happened to me.
And how did you come across them?
Well, I mentioned before we were investigating the kidnapping of some children. We were trying to figure out what happened. There was a neighboring village close to where the children disappeared from that are protected by some Fae. And the Fae told us that if we would clear out these creatures that were making the woods unsafe, that they would assist us. So we went to fight them. And that didn't go super well. Luckily, Maisie, she has some incredible abilities, divine abilities. She also fell unconscious, I believe, when they appeared, but one of our teammates was able to get her up and she was able to chase them away through some divine ability. I'm not super familiar with clerics' abilities, to be completely honest with you, but I do know that they are able to channel their divine power and that undead creatures are not very fond of it. So she chased them away. Luckily, we didn't have to fight them, and they didn't come back. And then the next day, we encountered a witch that I believe may have been summoning them, because when she left the area, the banshees never came back. To be completely honest with you, I'm kind of glad, because as fascinating as I found them, I also found them absolutely terrified and really don't want to meet another one in person. Or at least don't want to have to fight it.
Yeah, banshees aren't always the nice thing to fight.
I would love to learn more about them. I think for now I'm going to stick with what I can learn from books, because that left me shaken to my core.
I don't doubt.
Yeah, how come you're trying to investigate these creatures?
Well, I want to eventually write a book. There is a lot of knowledge about supernatural and other such creatures out there, but a lot of it is scattered, a lot of it is isolated. You have to check numerous sources to find what you're looking for, and I want to provide essentially an encyclopedia of all of these types of creatures, all in one collection that people in, say, Dan, like I said, he's a hunter of the supernatural, someone like him could pick up and use as a reference to do their jobs, essentially. It would certainly help hunters and adventurers to protect themselves against such creatures. And especially if I can learn things like I've learned some fascinating things from this family of vampires that I met recently. Things that you wouldn't know if all you ever did was fight them, right? And with this kind of knowledge at people's disposal, perhaps it doesn't always have to come to fighting. Vampires are intelligent creatures. They can be reasoned with. You can strike a deal with one. I want my name to go on after the day that I die, and I want to provide people with resources they can use to help themselves. And quite frankly, if I can learn interesting things about creatures that other people have never known before, that is just a bonus.
I think that's a very noble goal, actually. If more people knew that you can just talk to dragons and not be afraid, then they would know that you don't always have to fight dragons. Like we have our horde that we protect. We burn down villages occasionally. There's no reason to fight us.
Well, the burning of village isn't exactly preferable, but I mean, if you need food, no one can really fault you. That's just the food chain, right?
Yeah.
Most people would disagree with that, but I at least understand how the food chain works. You are carnivores, right? Or are you actually omnivores? Rue, you're different from most dragons. Are you a carnivore or an omnivore? Or are you an herbivore?
It's not even a dragon.
I eat a little bit of meat and a little bit of plants. More meat than plant, but not too picky on what meats it is, just as long as it's not from something too sentient.
Too sentient. So you have a preference for... Interesting.
He's got a preference for dummies.
Well, based on my history of making friends, it would seem that I do too. Don't tell anyone I said that.
Haha, don't we all?
No, my friends are perfectly capable. Book smart may not describe them very well, but they are all intelligent in their own ways. I suppose it's not as fun poking fun at them if they aren't here to defend themselves.
Maybe we can bring them in along with you sometime.
I'm not sure they would respond quite as well to meeting dragons.
You'll have to be the barter.
Is there any dragons in your realm?
Oh, I'm sure they're around. There are rumors that they've gone extinct. I personally don't believe that for a second. I think they're still around, but they certainly haven't been sighted in a very long time. At least not in... Civilized is really the wrong word for what I'm looking for here, but at least not in more populated areas. We don't exactly have dragons burning down villages as a particularly commonly heard of problem. Who knows, maybe it does happen in other parts of the world and I just don't know about it. It is a very large world.
Oh, yeah, you're from the realm Dr. Arthur Morgan came from, where Sensi had hunted down most of the dragons.
Zenzi, you're familiar with the continent of Lenasia? Interesting.
Yeah, we have met some people from your realm.
Fascinating. It truly is a small world, isn't it? Well, you keep referring to it as my realm. Are there... You know what? If we go into everything I want to know, we will be here for ages. And if I'm asleep, we don't have ages. I suppose we could. Could you induce a coma to keep me asleep longer so we could keep talking? Is that something you can accomplish?
No, it just feels a lot longer than it actually is.
Unfortunate.
We have to bring you in again, but can you tell me, I'm curious, what led you down this path of study? Was there a first encounter you had?
Well, there are a lot of monstrous creatures that exist out in the desert, and I've always been very curious about them ever since I was a little girl. And in my research, I of course read about some of the things that are much more terrifying than an extremely large scorpion, and they just piqued my interest. I think they're just fascinating. Truth be told, I don't really understand how anyone could possibly engage in anything remotely resembling an adventuring lifestyle and not be interested in them.
Well, some people have a fear of the unknown.
That's why it's integral to know as much as you can. Maybe I'm setting my goals too high.
Eh, nah, it's always good to have high goals, even if you don't reach them.
Oh, I fully intend to reach those goals. I set them high and I intend to get there.
Speaking of goals, what are your life goals? Like, what do you want to accomplish?
Well, there's, of course, the book that I mentioned before. That is my main one. I have a hell of a mystery on my hands, though, and to be completely honest with you, my research and my writing has kind of taken a bit of a back seat to trying to uncover this mystery.
Mystery?
Well, I mentioned I had a friend named Blair. When we first met her, She had no memory of her life. She was actually a ghost. She was possessing the form of a scarecrow when we met her. A very long, complicated series of events led to, well, we lost her temporarily. But before that happened, I was on a mission to try and help her remember the events of her life. She was involved in an attempt to stop some kind of, quite frankly, apocalyptic level of threat that I know very little about. And quite frankly, I want to know more about this. I know its name is Emrakul, and I know that it's terrifying, but I don't know much more about it. And I know that, well, Blair was trying to stop it, and that's what led to her demise. And quite frankly, on top of that, she's my friend. So of course I want to help her remember herself, remember who she is and what her life was like. But that has kind of taken a priority of my attention as of late. And we thought we lost her, but we were able to get her back.
Lost a ghost?
It's very fascinating, actually. I know I use that word a lot, but her soul was tied to this tome. And, well, it was only a piece, a fragment of it, but no one can read it. I tried using magic to understand what it read, and it hurt me to do so. And there's some kind of incredibly powerful, probably evil, if I'm being honest with you, magic, but her soul was attached to it somehow. And, well, somebody who will not be named for now stole that away from her. And when it did, her soul lost its binding to the scarecrow she was possessing. But we appealed to her goddess, and in exchange for our help, we were able to get her back. And she's not a ghost anymore. She has a breathing human body, but she doesn't seem to remember us.
So, did they lose their memories when they were a ghost?
She couldn't remember her life before becoming a ghost. She occasionally remembered bits and pieces, but sometimes trying to remember would hurt her. I frequently got scolded by Maisie. She's kind of our doctor. I frequently got scolded for trying to push Blair to remember her life and causing her to hurt herself. But we both wanted to know what her life was like before. But when the goddess revived her, she seems to remember her life, but doesn't remember us. I haven't really had an opportunity to speak with her, though. But I have so many questions for her now that she remembers her life. I can't wait for the opportunity to ask. I suppose I can't stay here for too long.
I suppose not, but I have a few more questions for you. What would you categorize as your favorite moment questing so far?
My favorite moment questing so far. Well, it wasn't really anything that I did, but it was pretty good to be a part of. When we were investigating these werewolves that I was talking about before, some people had learned how to harness lycanthropy and utilize it and weaponize it. And we were able to remove the lycanthropy from most of them, but one of them we captured while he was still in his werewolf form. Silver manacles, by the way, can do wonders if you can get them on a werewolf. Rather than transform him back, we kept him in that form because he was relatively harmless once he was manacled. And so I was able to do a very thorough study of him. Certainly much closer than I think anyone has ever managed to get to a werewolf and survive, that's for sure. Or at least a living one. It gave me some very valuable information about them. I was able to get a good anatomically correct sketch of him. That probably sounds concerning to most people, but it's an important part of science.
Sure.
Indeed. Yeah.
Is there a problem?
Not at all.
I know precisely what you're thinking. I'm not stupid.
Never said you were. I just said there was no problem.
I'm sure there's plenty of scholars who are interested in anatomically correct pictures of werewolves.
In all honesty, it's probably a very rare item to actually have legitimate information on.
It is incredibly rare. Thank you for that. I can tell you're all swallowing the urge to make fun of me.
Not at all, not at all.
Oh.
Anyways, it was a very rare opportunity that I don't think most people have ever had or will have. And regardless of what opinions of me are formed based on my interest in it, I will remain proud of the fact that it is something that I was able to find out for myself.
What about the most adrenaline pumping moment you've had?
Adrenaline pumping?
Well, in the field that you're on studying monsters, I'm sure there are many, many times where adrenaline just begins to flow through you.
You have no idea, darling, but most recently, when we were fighting the zombies that I mentioned before, specifically the priest who had been zombified, I found myself running out of magic. I'm usually much more a mage than I am a fighter, but when you run out of spells, you have to do something.
I believe that's called a bitch slap.
No. I most definitely kept my distance. I am not the toughest member of our party. That would be May. No, I kept my distance. I am not exactly the most skilled marksman in the world, but I do know how to handle a revolver. And I landed quite a shot. Blew out some of his brain, which doesn't mean much for a zombie. He kept moving, but I've never landed a shot quite that accurately before. Very, very proud of myself. I wasn't the one who landed the killing blow, for lack of a better term, but certainly did my part. I'd say that.
And besides, well, us dragons, what's a creature that you're looking forward to studying in some capacity?
Well, there is a creature that we encountered in the mountains. I have no idea what it is. I don't think anyone has ever encountered this thing before. I've racked my brain. I have searched books ever since my encounter with it. I cannot find any information about it. It's able to shapeshift. Actually, it seems to be able to do much more than just shapeshift, but we saw it become other creatures. It first disguised itself as a wolf. We thought we saved it from some orcs that were trying to, well, we assumed eat it, and it kind of started following us around, so I thought that maybe I had acquired myself a nice little pet. Dan swears by his companionship with Sancho. He has a little hunting dog that follows him around. And so I was thinking about taking this little wolf in as my pet. It was not a pet at all. It wasn't even a wolf. It's some kind of creature with tentacles that it copied a person, it copied a member of my team, and it was able to speak with us. It tried to deceive us into parting ways. It tried to send us on a wild goose chase so that it could corner one of us. I know that it's afraid of fire, whatever it is. Dan was able to chase it off with fire, which is good, because I think it had him pretty well cornered. It was terrifying because we didn't know who to trust. We had to prove that people were who they claimed to be, and even then it managed to overpower one of our methods of doing that. It disguised itself as a man that we had met in the mountain and was able to successfully lie to us and say things that convinced us that it was who it was disguised as. So it's very intelligent, whatever it is. I would like to learn more about whatever that creature is, because not only has it been absolutely bothering me that I don't know what this thing is, but if I've made a discovery that absolutely nobody else has made, do you understand what that would do for my name?
Scientific awards.
I don't know about awards, I'm not particularly worried about that, but my name would certainly never be forgotten in history.
Well, we'll make sure of it.
Coming from our realm, it's not always the worst to be forgotten, but never something that you want to think about when you're alive.
I certainly don't want to be forgotten, and if I can successfully write this book, I won't be.
Well, at the rate you're going, I highly doubt anyone will forget you.
Well, thank you, that's very kind.
Do you need any subjects for anatomical drawings of dragons?
That entirely depends. Are you suggesting this from a scientific standpoint, or is this an attempt to lead into something else?
No, forget I asked.
I would be the lead into something else.
I mean, I suppose I could probably be persuaded. How does that work if I'm asleep? If I'm not physically here, would that even be possible?
Would you draw me like one of your Dustina's girls?
God,
Sorry, I'm dead.
that took me off guard too.
I think you've just woken them up with that response. They seem to be fading quite fast.
Oh no.
Oh god.
Well, it might be for the better.
All right. We hope to see you again, and please keep us updated on everything that you find. But until we see you again, have a good awakening.
Sorry, I'm dying.
Please don't die.
Ugh.
At least wait until the end of the recording.
Yes.
Yeah, then you can keel over if you want.
Sounds good.
Oh.
I love my friends, I swear.